Yeah, good morning, everyone. So, yesterday we discussed about the introduction of different programming systems. I told you. So, we discussed about what are various programming systems like POPS, OBPS, and OOPS. One more basic thing is evolution of OOP programming, how it started. Actually, so Alan Kay introduced the concept of object into computer programming in early 1960s. In early 1960s, he developed the concept called object. I already told you in JavaScript, object contains related data and logic. So he developed the concept of object. After that, in early 1967, so Johann Ole and Christian Nygaard, these two people developed object-oriented programming with a language called Simula. Simula 67, that is the first OOP language. They developed object-oriented programming with a language called Simula. Simula is the first OOP language, object-oriented programming language. We call it as simulation systems actually. After that, actually what happens here is Simula introduced code reusability. So it introduced the concept called code reusability. So what is the main aim of OOP? Code reusability. We can reuse the code. That is the main aim of OOP. After that, in the early 1970s, TryGive introduced the concept of code separation with a framework called MVC. He developed a framework called MVC, Model View Controller. In the early 1970s, he designed the concept of MVC. So it was formulated with Smalltalk language. It was first used with a language called Smalltalk. So code reusability was separately designed. Code separation was separately designed. And the framework MVC was introduced by this TryGive. It is so popular that even today, your technologies use that framework. What is the framework MVC of Java? Spring uses MVC. So Java uses MVC framework by name Spring. Every technology have it. .NET uses by name ASP.NET MVC. Python uses by the name Django. Django, some people call or Django. So every technology is using this framework. After that, so in early 1975 onwards, C++ came. In early 1990, Java came as an OOP language, means the popular OOP language. In early 2003, C Sharp came. These are the popular OOP languages in the world currently: C++, Java, and C Sharp. So, object-oriented programming languages, the basic evolution it is. What is the main concept is code reusability and code separation, code extensibilities and all. Right? That is the basic introduction, right? Evolution, how OOP concept came. Next important here, after knowing the features, drawbacks, and history, what are the drawback of OOPs? So drawback of OOPs, it doesn't support direct low level features. So it cannot directly interact with hardware. So it is slow in interactions. It requires more memory. So heavy, complex, tedious. These are all the drawbacks of OOP language. So, but some features are there. Is JavaScript OOP language? No. It is not OOP language, but some concepts of OOPs are available here. So that is the reason never compare this with your Java or anything, because it has limited, very limited concept of object oriented. In that, first we have to know is about JavaScript modules. This is the first very, very important here, because wherever we use JavaScript in future, suppose you are learning Angular or React or Vue or some other JavaScript based library or JavaScript based framework, there everything is module system. Technically, what is a module is nothing but, I will give a simple basic overview. Generally, what is the concept of module is, usually we have some set of functions. We have some set of functions. We have set of values. And we have some set of classes. Classes we will learn next point. These functions, values, we want to use in different places. Suppose we are having various projects. That means we are having different projects. So we have a project 1. So we have project 2, project 3, like this. Sometimes whatever logic you written, it is not only used in a project, it is used across projects. So many such ready-made libraries are present. What you can do is, if any specific library is very much in requirement, you can design one library and you can give it to other developers. That means, for example, last time we created a EMI calculator. We created an EMI calculator, and that calculator many people want. Then how you can build it? You can give the library. That means design you will not give. You will give the logic, code, everything, because design according to their requirement they will do. You can design all the logic, code, and you can upload into online repository. Online repositories like we have a very popular website of npm npmjs.com. This is node package manager. We already know npm. This is their official website. What you can do here, you can register as a developer. You can freely register. You can upload your code and they will review it. If they like that code and there are no issues in it, then they will make it available to other people so they can install and use that library. That means what they do, npm install emi, they will run automatically. That entire files will be copied to him. He have to just link the files and use the files. Like that, so many libraries are present. Suppose we want a calendar. Actually, input type date is present, but we want more attractive calendar. Then you can search here. See, you can search, because in modern websites, we don't use JavaScript directly. JavaScript we learn, but in real-time projects, we directly use either jQuery or Angular or React or Vue-like technologies. You are learning JavaScript, but remember, direct JavaScript is never used in any project. In any project, directly JavaScript is not used. They use in the form of jQuery, Angular, React. And to learn them and to handle them, you need JavaScript. Compulsory. So directly you will never use. So what you do here, see, I am searching jQuery date picker. Automatically, it will show me some suggestions. It will show me some suggestions. Or another example I will tell you. Suppose in our website, we want a barcode, right? Barcode. That means a product. Under the product, we want barcode. How barcode will come? How QR code will come? For that, ready-made libraries are present. What you can do here, you can search JavaScript barcode. Then what they do is, they will give you here JavaScript barcode generator. And when you click on this, it will give you the library. You can see this is barcode generator in pure JavaScript. And you see already they designed it and they given to you. And they will give you the whole help document. Help document means how to write the barcode and how to put it. Now what we do is, we copy this. We don't need to copy. They given an installation also. You see, they have given installation, npm install barcode, this one code. Then entire code is copied. You can just link it and change according to your requirement. So this is a library which is designed in such a way that we can reuse from any project. How to build such library? Such type of library is built by using module. Means what a library contains? It contains functions, values, and classes. All these kept in one place. And this is called as a module. That means related types. For example, you learned array functions. Array have some properties and methods. All array methods and properties are present in an array module. I'm just giving example. String functions and properties are present in a string module. That means they are present in separate modules. All related content are kept in one module. What is the module? Is nothing but, actually module is a JavaScript file. Now you may ask one thing, if it is a JavaScript file, then why I need a module? I can link this file and use it now. Am I right? That means if it is a JavaScript file and in JavaScript file some functions are present, how to access them? You have to link to HTML page and access them. Then why I need a module? Module advantage is without linking the file, we can import and use them. Linking so many files, what is the problem? Load time will increase, performance will decrease. So without linking the files, we can access its library and use it. That is the specialty of module. So without linking the files, we can import that and we can use it. This is the concept of module. That's why it is very important. So you will see that in React, Angular like technologies, when you are learning, you will have a page in that lot of CSS, JavaScript, everything working, but you will see that page is not linked with any file. Page is not linked with any file. In interviews also they ask for freshers saying that in JavaScript, we write some functions in a file and we want to use, then we have to link it. But they will show you one file. They will say that in that file, there is no link, but how JavaScript is working. So that you have so many methods, concepts are there. In that one important point is what? Module system. Module systems. So what is a module? Technically, a module is a set of values, functions, and classes. So which you can import and use across various locations. Across various locations. It may be in various pages, it may be in various projects, various locations. So it enables code reusability. It enables code reusability and extensibility. Code reusability and extensibility. You can build a JavaScript library using modules. You can build one JavaScript library using modules. What is the purpose of library is to provide ready-made functionality, so which can be imported, customized, and used according to requirement. For example, you have seen in Bootstrap, you designed a carousel. Have you written any code? We haven't written any code for carousel, but how button click is working, how the attributes are working, because you imported a file called bootstrap bundle.js and you just linked those attributes. That means you are, and carousel, where I can use carousel in any page where I link that. So it is a library. Bootstrap is a library. It provides a library. So technically, we can build a library using module. But here, one point is there. If you want to use modules and work with modules, ordinary JavaScript compiler is not enough. Ordinary JavaScript interpreter is not enough. We need a separate module system. A separate module system need to be installed. Then only these modules will work. That means in order to use modules, you need a module system installed. You need a module system installed. Actually, there are various JavaScript module systems. There are various JavaScript module systems. Different JavaScript module systems, like we have common JS, we have like require JS, we have like so UMD, which is universal module distribution, and it have AMD. So AMD is asynchronous module distribution. UMD, AMD, we have like ES module system. ES module system. These are different types of module systems. Different types of module systems. And these module systems need to be installed, then only they work. So in future, if you are learning any JavaScript based technology, just like I told you, Angular, React and all, they will use these systems installed already. That means in Angular or in React, when you are learning, so or Node.js, so there these module systems are installed. Otherwise, they cannot use the modules. Now, one advantage is there. If you are using JavaScript in browser also have a module system, but it is inactive. Browser is actually having a JavaScript interpreter. In browser engine, a module system also present, but that module system is inactive. That means it will not use that module system every time. We have to tell it that use the module system, then it will use it. Then without installing a module system, we can use the module system. How? Because already browser have a module system and its name is ES module. Browser already have a module system called ES module. So if you are using JavaScript with HTML in browser, then you don't need to install a module system. You have to just activate it. You have to just activate it. You need to just enable it. You don't need to install any module system. So if you are using JavaScript, if you are running JavaScript in browser with the HTML page, then browser have a default module system called ES module. So ES module system, it have a module system called ES module. By default, it is having a module system. So if you are running JavaScript in browser with HTML page, then browser have a default module system that is called ES. So how we enable that module system? That means you have to write like this. We are writing a script syntax. We have to write like this. We are writing a script. Generally, what is the script type? Text/JavaScript. We have to use module now. Script type as module. Text JavaScript cannot use modules. You have to use module, then it will work. So that is the important thing you need to know. Let's see now how it works. In this module, everything works. In this module, every concept of JavaScript works. But its usage is little different, which I will show you. See, let's see how to use the module system, how it is helpful. I will take here our project. In this, I will first create here a separate folder. Okay, I am creating a folder. I am creating a folder by name JavaScript OOP. Okay, I have some JavaScript OOP. Okay. After that, in SRC folder, we are creating a new folder called library. In SRC, we are creating library. In that library, I am creating a new folder called modules. In library, I am creating a separate folder called modules. It's not necessary. You can keep anywhere. Traditionally in project, it will be like that. Traditionally in every projects, we organize files in separate folders. You can create anywhere you want. So here in this modules folder, I am adding a new file. I will give the file name as, suppose the file name is home.js. And traditionally for modules, I am giving home.module.js. Like this I am giving. But remember, this module is not extension. Module is just only name. Extension is JS. So home.module.js. That is the file. Okay. Now remember, the file name is home.module.js. That is considered as module name. Whatever file name is given, it is used as module name. So what is the module name? Module name is home.module. That is the module name. The file name is considered as the module name. Whatever JavaScript file name you give. Okay. Now in this module, we will put some values where username is equal to some John. After that, I will declare a function and say hello, and it will return a string hello and username. It is going to access the username and use it. I am using another function welcome, and here it is returning a string welcome to what? JavaScript. Here I am not writing document write alerts prompts. Why? Because we don't know from where they use. So that is the reason while designing library, what we do, we just design a functionality which returns some value. Because whether he have to show in a console or document write or alert his wish, he will decide. If you give alert here, that means he have to use only alert. What is the purpose of library? Give it in such a way that he can use from any place according to his requirement. If I give console log document write here, every time it will be log, it will be write. No, he can display in a alert, he can display in a document write, he can display in a paragraph. In that case, we have to give library. Every time while designing library, this you have to keep in mind. We need to give the functions to anybody in such a way that only the value written will be there. Where to return, he will decide according to his requirements. So that is the best way of designing a library. So we created this. Okay. But unfortunately, whatever the values, functions you written in a module are not accessible outside. They are not accessible outside. From outside, if you try to access, they are not allowed. To make these functions, variables, anything accessible outside, you have to mark them as export. You have to mark them as export. Mandatory. If you are using inside this file only somewhere, then no need of export. But if you have to access outside this file and from some other place, then it is mandatory to mark it as export. So I am not marking welcome as export. I am just marking hello as export. Many times people ask, can we export a variable? Anything. You can export a variable or a function or a class. Whatever is there, you can use it. Why I am not exporting variable? Because I don't want variable outside. I just want this function to be used. I declared variable for internal use, right? And welcome also I am not giving as export. Okay. So library is designed. So what is the basic point here? So a new module, creating a new module. The process here, first point, go to src folder, src, and add library in that modules folders. And after that, add a new file into modules folder. The file name home.module.js. That's the file. And its module name is home module, home.module. That is the module name. So here we have to define the members inside. So you can configure variables and functions and classes in module. So, but every member in module is private in access. Say is private in access, that means it is accessible within that area. So if you want to access from a remote location, then they must be marked with export keyword. So syntax will be like this, like export constant, some name is equal to some value, something like this. Export function name and some value. Later we can export a class and class name if we want. So we can export variables, we can export functions, and we can export classes. We have to use the keyword export. Here, one more point is that another point is, generally, when you are defining export, next point is every module can have one default export. 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 That means you can write like this: export default function name. But there can be only one. Another one cannot have default. Only one can be default, others must be without default. What is the speciality of this word default? Without default, what will happen? With the default, what will happen? Actually, so what is the purpose of default and without default? The purpose of with default and without default is in your Java and OOP languages. Have you heard about lazy loading? In OOP languages, you have two important things: lazy loading and eager loading. In Java, C++, .NET, OOP languages, we have this mechanism. What is lazy loading means? Lazy loading is an object for a class is created only when you are using the class. Generally, an object for a class can be created even when you are not using the class. But a developer designs logic in such a way that when we are using the class, then its object is created. Unnecessarily creating all objects and not using them, it is load for memory. That means generally you create obj1, obj2, obj3 and all objects. Why you are creating objects if they are not using them? All objects needs memory. I will tell you one very high level real time example is, suppose here, this is where you implement actually in Java, .NET, you will learn that. Suppose in a database, 100 records are present. Now you are getting these 100 records and you are displaying these 100 records in your Java by using JSP and all these things. You are fetching that and displaying those 100 records. But to display 100 records, it will take a lot of screen. Then in one screen, we don't show 100 records. In one screen, we will show 10 records. Per screen, we show 10 records. After that, we give the page numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, like this page numbers. If user wants, he will go to the second page, third page, and that. Now tell me, as a Java developer, how you write the logic for this? That means logic means what? Will you read all 100 records and load in those page numbers? Means all 100 records loaded and user can watch which page he wants. Am I right? That is not good. If user is not going to second page, why you are loading them? That means now can you write logic in such a way that it will load only 10, and when he clicks on second, it will load next 10. That's great, good. That is how we need actually. And to do that in your Java, you have to implement a mechanism called lazy loading. Lazy loading. We have eager loading, lazy loading. Java, .NET, all these people implement the mechanism called lazy loading. Lazy loading is a programming technique. Just like in your Java, you learnt about singleton pattern. Singleton, you will learn in future. If you haven't, you will learn. Singleton means for a class, how many objects we can create? Any number of objects we can create, but we have to design a class in such a way that it can have only one object. And after that, if he tries to create another object, it should not create. And if you can design a class such a way, then that class is exhibiting a mechanism called singleton. We call it as singleton pattern. So these all are very important. So this is the concept actually. See, for example, I think I have lazy loading in Java. Suppose you see Java have a lazy loading design pattern. And they will tell you how to just use this concept. You will see lot of examples. On lazy loading, you will see a lot of examples, which is very, very important in real-time program. Because unnecessarily, we cannot load the content. We have to load only when user wants it. User wants it. That is important. Here, that is the same concept actually. This default will load into memory. So before user uses it. That means we want some actions to get ready before user starts. Like connecting with the database, keep the database connection ready so that he will insert, update, delete and all. That means before he starts work, some environment we need to keep ready for him. Such things we keep in a default. Default will load automatically. So, and it will end automatically. Once you finish using it, it will dispose. But without default, what happens? It will load only when you are using it. And it will end when you are not using it. That means default is eager loading. Without default, it is lazy loading. Without default, it is lazy loading. That means when you design a function, you have to tell how to load it. Is it eager loading or is it lazy loading? And there can be only one eager loading in a module. That means everything you have to keep in that one. You cannot have multiple eager loadings. That means you cannot have multiple default. Every module can have only one default. That means here I defined this also as export. Okay. And I give this welcome as default export. That means it loads before you are using it. And this will load when you are using it. How we use these in our HTML page after configuring this. So what is the concept of default? So here the point is default enables eager loading of a function, eager loading of a function or class. So default enables eager loading of a function or class. So when you are writing a function or a class in a file, then what we do? So we write I export so that it is accessible outside. And if you want one default export, then you can make it as what? Default. And now how to use them in any HTML page. So the fourth point, after you created, you have to import the module and its members into HTML page by using import statement. You have an import statement. And remember, different module systems have different statements. Import statement is used by ES module system, UMD module system, like that. But other module systems use a different statement. So remember here one point. That means other module systems have different statements. Other module systems have different statements. Actually, suppose how to do that? Import. And see here, this is important. Default member, comma, and you have to define the others from module name. You have to mention the module name. Like this you have to use. Have you observed default member is not written in a curly brace block? Default members you have to write outside the block. What is the meaning of writing outside the block? It automatically starts, automatically ends. And what is the point about inside the block? It will start only when it is in use. That means when to start, when to stop, we will decide. Here we can't decide. We can't decide. That is the point. And like this, how many default members can be there? Only one. And default member must be always first. First default member should be imported, after that others. You cannot write this default after others. It should be before, first. That is the default member how you define. So now currently what we do, import. According to our example, welcome is default and comma, hello is normal. And from what is the module name? home.module.js. Module name means file name. Only module name is home.module. So you are not linking the files. Without linking the files, we are able to access the files and the members in that files. Now what you can do, so we can access, suppose document dot query selector. In that a paragraph is there. In that inner HTML, what we can do, we can just put the welcome, which is returning a string. Welcome is returning a string. We can just put that. It can be parameterized, parameterless, anything. So that is the process. And they can use in a alert. That means they can say alert what? Hello, and they can execute it. Or they can use console.log. Console.log what it is, welcome. That means where to print, they will decide. Right? That is the concept of module system. So what is advantage now is, in every HTML page, you can import them and use them. You can import and use them in any HTML page. Let's see here. So first, our library is ready. After library is ready, we will go and write here in JavaScript. I will create a home.html. In this, I am designing a HTML page. In that HTML page, there is a paragraph. And here we are writing a script. This time in this script, so very important, you have to mention the type as module. Then we have to import hello from, and we are using /src/ in that library / in that modules / in that modules we have to get the file. What is the file? So home.module.js. That is what you are doing. Bootstrap icons and all, you are using modules, node modules. They are all modules. It's a reusable library, na? So you are officially using modules before you know modules. CSS also have modules. It's not only JavaScript, right? Node modules. It's no modules. How you are using them across all pages. But you are not importing, you are linking them. But now you can import and use them. And you see now, I'm importing this hello. What is advantage? You can import only what you want. What is the meaning of the word module? Meaning of the word module. The word module comes from a concept called modular system. Modular means part by part. Modular means part by part. That means you don't need to use complete. You just need to use what you want. these kind of modular libraries are good for application. Do you know, few years back your Java is a legacy library. In latest version of Java, I think they introduced a modular library. I don't have that complete idea on that. Earlier your Java, .NET or .NET Java, all these are legacy libraries. Legacy library means entire library is imported even to use a small functionality. But now they are making modular libraries. Modular means only what is needed, it will be imported. That reduces burden on application. Applications lightweight. We have modular libraries. So the concept of module means what? In that there are so many functions, but you can import only what you want. I am importing only hello. I am not importing welcome. Right now you see here document.query selector. What is it? Paragraph inner HTML. We have to just call hello. That's it. Now let's run this and see. Remember, here I am not using even body load event. There is no body on load, nothing. And you can see module system can control your DOM. It is going to control your DOM and it is going to display that hello. And here you will see the consequences now. Let me open the console. Right here we will go to the console area. This is console, currently empty. I will keep this script type traditionally as text / what? JavaScript. Modules will not work now. You cannot use import statement. If you don't mention script type, by default it is JavaScript. You cannot use modules. Browser have a module system, but it cannot use it until or unless you mention it. So then what you have to do, we have to define the type as what? Module. And you see it is there. Okay, I want to import welcome also. I am putting comma and welcome, but welcome is a default. Default you cannot import like this. So if I do like that, I will show here in the next line BR, we will try to access another function. What is it? Welcome. It says welcome have a problem. The requested module export named welcome does not provide any export. Here I have to remove from here, and you cannot export. You cannot export after this. You have to export before this. That means we have to use what? Welcome comma this. Now the welcome is available. And very important here, suppose I am using the export, this also default. That means two defaults are present, and you see immediately error, duplicate export of default. That means only one default can be there. Which one you decide. So, and according to that, you have to import it. That's important here. And if you forget to give export to any function or class, it cannot access. That means you have to mark it with what? Export. Then it will work. Now, see the point here. I am creating in the modules, I am creating another file. So math.module.js. In this, I have a function export function edition, and it is having a comma b. And I am just using, so return a plus b. And you see now, I want to use that in HTML page. Then you have to just import another one. Import, which one? Import edition. Edition from where? It is in a different module now. src dot what? Library / what? Modules / what? Math dot module dot js. Like that you create a EMI calculator module. You create KFC form module. You can use from any location you want. Now here I am using edition now. That means I will put here at the end next line. addition is equal to, how to get addition into that, I will pass 20 comma 40 because it takes two parameters. That is how we manage the module system. This is how generally you use JavaScript in your future Angular and React. You will have separate classes and libraries. We have to import which function we want from which module, and then we can access that function and we can use it. That is very, very important. The module system is. So example here. Example is what I am doing. So add following files. I will give this in the notes into modules folder. What are the files we added? home.module.js. In that I will put this code. That is the code I am keeping. And one more is there, math.module.js. And here I will keep this one. And after that, so add a new HTML page, but make sure where you added and the path is important. You cannot just blindly write the path which I given in class. You see where you kept your HTML file. Based on that, you have to use dot or / like that. HTML page I given some home.html, and in home.html I am importing them and using them. That is the concept of module. So how to configure a module, how to design a module, how to export, how to import. But at high level, generally module doesn't contain only functions. At high level, module keeps its information in classes. So we currently used functions because we know them, right? But in some cases it uses classes. So now technically, what is a class? In computer programming, how you define a class? What is the definition of a class in OOP? So generally, general terms, you may call it as a blueprint or a model or an entity. They are okay, but not perfect. Why? Because I will tell you the situation. Generally, what is a class? What is the definition for a class in computer programming languages? So in computer programming, class is a program template. That is the official definition. We call it as a program template. What is meant by a program template? Template means what? Template means it contains some sample data and logic which you can implement and customize according to your requirements. For example, you saw bootstrap templates they given. Or suppose we want here, this is MS Word. In MS Word, I want to prepare a resume. If you want to prepare a resume, so what you can do is, you can take a resume template, you see new, and they will give you ready-made templates here. You see, you can search online templates, or ready-made they given a template. You select a template and you click on create. Then automatically, according to that, they give you the sample data and logic. Now what we have to do here? So what we need to do here? So this is the print layout. Yeah. What we have to do here? We just customize. Means we remove this photo and put our photo. We remove this name and put our name. These are called as what? Templates. Class is also such template. It contains ready-made data and logic. We have to import and we need to customize according to our requirement. For example, array have a property called length. What is the length of array? That depends on what data it is having. That means, is length returning same value every time? No, it is customized according to that particular situation. But they given a length to store the data or number. Am I right? Length returns number. They designed, but it is not standard. It is mutable. You can change. That is the meaning of template. So in computer programming, class is a template. So it is a program template. Means class comprises of a template I will give. A template provides sample data and logic, which you can implement, which you can customize and implement according to requirements. A template provides sample data and logic, which you can customize and implement according to requirements. So you can customize according to the requirements. So then people have different definitions for them. I will tell the reason also for that. That means generally when you are learning a technology, different definitions they give for class. There is a reason for that also, but we have to know the correct definition and the reason behind why it is called like that. Just like I already told you, different concepts like that. Arrays and all. Generally, while you are working, here one important point is, we have some project. That means we have an application. Application is nothing but a project. We are developing one application. Actually, for this application that we are designing, some data is present. Some data is present. For this application, some data is present. So for the application, some data is present. This is the data we are having. So application contains some business also. That means it has some business. So actually we have business requirements. Application has some business requirements and it has some data requirements. Application usually have some business and data requirements. Data requirements means keep the data, store the data, access the data, insert, update, delete, all such things. Business requirement means they are not related to data. Business requirements are not related to data. Not related to data means, for example, yes, previous session we designed a EMI calculator. Does it needs any data to store in database? No, but it is doing some functionality. That means a functionality is performed without having any data in the background. In an application, there are such functionalities which doesn't need data. Such functionalities are called business. That means we have business requirements. Another one is data requirement. Now, what happens is, as a developer, we are writing some code. We are writing a class. we are writing some classes here. If a developer is designing, classes for data requirements, like to read data, insert data, update data, then the class is considered as a model. Then the class is considered as a model. Model means it contains data related logic. A model comprises of data and its related logic. If a developer is designing a class for data requirements, then that class is considered as a model, right? But they designed a class for business requirements. I told you without data, a lot of requirements will be there. For business requirements, then this is called entity. We call it as an entity. So now class can be a model or it can be an entity. When it is called entity, when it is having business requirements. A class is designed for business requirements, then it is called entity. If a class is designed for data requirements, then it is called model. So that is the reason if anybody says class is a model or class is a logical entity, all are okay. But is it a model every time? Is it an entity every time? So that is not correct then. Then every time what it is? Every time it is a program template, which can be used for data requirements, which can be used for business requirements. So a class is a model, okay. A class is a blueprint, okay. A class is an entity, okay, but not perfect. Why a class is called as blueprint? That is general term. Blueprint means there will be one original. From there we create multiple duplicates. Then it is called as what? Blueprint. Class have a behavior of blueprint. It is not blueprint. Means technically it have a behavior of blueprint. It behaves like a blueprint. So that is not the definition. So it is a template. Class is a program template, right? So technically now how you define the class and what are the concept about class. So if class is mapping to data requirements, then is referred as model. If a class is mapping to business requirements, then it is referred as entity. It is referred as entity. So if a class, right, and if a class is acting as source for several instances, then it is referred as blueprint. So there are so many names for that, but the perfect name is template. So you may call class as a blueprint, class as an entity, class as a model, but the best is class is above all, it is a template. Means in every situation it is template. As a model it is template, as a blueprint it is template, as an entity it is template. So finally it is a template, right? Now what you can have in a class? What are the members of class? This is very, very important. First important, configuring class. How to configure class? Generally, there are two methods, just like function. Configuring function, I told you. Function can be configured in two ways. What are those? Declaration, expression. Class also same. Class have declaration. That means we have class and class name. We can give like this. It have expression also. Expression means constant. Some name is equal to class and its members. We can write like this also. So class can be configured in two ways. You can have declaration and expression. What is difference? Already we discussed the same point in function. What is the advantage of expression? In one memory, you can handle multiple classes. In declaration, a memory specifically allocated for a class, and it is only for that class. But in expression, memory allocated for class, in that the class can change. That means a memory is allocated for class, but which class that you decide, you can change it. But in first case, the memory is allocated for a class, it will work only for that class. Right? That is the concept of configurations, right? So this is generally we call as expression. Class have two methods. Next important, meaning you know why they are used in the, right? Already we learned. Next point, class members. What are the members in a class? In a class, what you can write? So every JavaScript class can have only the following as class members. Only the following as class members. Number one, property. Number two, accessor. Number three, constructor. And number four, method. Only these can be there, nothing else. That means in JavaScript, a class can have only these members. These are considered as class members. Class can have a property or an accessor or a method or a constructor. So if anybody asks a question like, so can we define variable or function as class member? So the answer is no. You cannot. That means you cannot have a variable and function as class members. So it will not allow variable or a function as class member. So 100% not possible. But here tricky question is there. Tricky question is, suppose if anybody asked you question like this, means in a different way, like can we define a variable or class, a variable or function in class? What do you say? Yes. Is there any similarity in the two questions? There is no similarity. There is no similarity. Question is completely different. What is the different? They are asking, what are class members? Right? Class members can be only 4. So can a function or a variable can be class member? No. But can we have a function or variable in a class? Yes. Not as class member. We can keep them as member of others. Not as class member. So can we have a variable in class? Yes. But variable cannot be class member. Class member means what? Direct member of class. Class member means direct member of class. For example, see here. Suppose we are creating another file here. some demo.html. Yeah. Here I am defining a simple script. In that, let's put a class as product. In this class, we have var x equal to 10. Not possible. You cannot define a variable. And you see now here, so a constructor or a method or an accessor or a property, only these are expected. So we can have a variable outside the class. So we cannot have a variable inside the class as class member. But see, inside this, suppose there is a print method, in that we can have. So now variable is not a class member. Variable is a member of a method called print. Right? So that is the reason the question is important. Are they asking about class member? Are they asking about just its existence? Existence, okay. So member, not okay. Now the question is why function and variables are not allowed as class members? What do you say? They are not allowed as class members. Why? Because variable and function are immutable. They are immutable. So, and what is a class? Class is a template. Template means it must be mutable. It should be able to change according to situation. So a class member must be always mutable. A class member must be always mutable. Hence variable and function cannot be class member. Hence variable and function cannot be class member. That is important. So why they are not allowed as class members? Because they are immutable. Let's prove this point that they are immutable or mutable here. Then how the data is stored in a class? Data is stored in a class by using property. By using property, we store the data. Then how do you define logic in a class? By using method, not functions. We use methods, right? Now, the question is, how do you prove that it is mutable or immutable? How do we prove it is mutable or immutable? Let's take a point here. For that, one more concept we should know. Suppose I am declaring, roughly I will show here. Suppose I am declaring here some variable price. In that, some value is already mentioned. I should not allow anybody to change that value. I should not allow anybody to change that value, right? Then how do you do that? Instead of var, if I give var can be changed, right? So var can be changed, right? Then how you do that? So we can use a const. Price is equal to, we will define like this, right? So now the point here is, here the concept is, if I want some users to change and not others, that means user who have an admin role, he can change, others cannot. It's not possible. That means, can you change the variable declaration of any variable dynamically? It's not possible, right? That is not possible. Then how you will handle this situation? At some situations, it should not allow. In some situations, it should allow. It's not possible with variables. It is possible with the property. How? I will show you. Technically how we define that here. See. So access, this is class members. After that, accessing class members. Accessing class members. How the class members are accessed? You know, JavaScript, 2 points are there, Java, right? Actually, the class members are accessible within the class using this keyword. The class members are accessible within the class using this keyword. And the class members are accessible outside class by using instance of class. Instance of class means it's an object of class. Just like you have used object in JavaScript. In JavaScript object, we can have keys and functions. How to access any key within the object? By using this. Outside by using object name. Here you have to use an instance. That means syntactically what? So we have a class. So employee something. And it is having some members. And how do we use let obj is equal to new employee. The memory is allocated. And through that obj, we can access a property of that. Or through obj, you can access a method of it. Right. So this is the point. So the class members are accessible within the class using this keyword and outside the class by using instance of class. So that is the basic point. Now, how we prove that they are mutable? They can change the situation, right? For that, first you should know one point here. And the point is you should know how data is stored. Data is stored in a property. First member in the class is property. So a property is used to store data. So a property is used to store data. So in JavaScript class, property is having just a reference name. It is having a just reference name. You can assign, you can initialize any type of value. You can initialize any type of value. So you can assign any type of value using instance of class. You can initialize any type of value. You can assign any type of value using instance of class. That means what it is similar here. We have a class product. In that product class, we have a property called some name. And in that, you can initialize some name. That's it. And it is not having anything else. Because in your Java, you may have public, private, like access modifiers. Here, nothing. Just only reference name. Here, you don't have any access modifiers and or anything. Because it is not a OOP language to compare with any OOP language. It is having just few features. And property, you can give any name in that you can store. How to modify the name? We have to create an object by using that object product. What is new? It is allocating memory, right, for that. And through that object, you can access the property and assign a new value. You can assign a new value. How you will print that value? Console.log or document.write obj.what name. That's it. You can assign a value, you can initialize a value, and you can access. That is the concept of a property. And what kind of data you can store in this? You can store any kind, you can assign any kind. That means it can be a number, it can be a string, it can be a boolean, it can be null, it can be undefined, it can be array, it can be an object, it can be map, array of objects, date, anything. Right? It can be any type of content you can define. So here, any data type, it can be any data type. Okay, now the point is how it is different from variable. Variable is also storing data. How this property is different from variable. What is the specialty of property? Property is mutable. Property is mutable. That means a property can change the behavior dynamically according to state and the situation. According to state and situation. So property is mutable. A property can change the behavior according to state and situation dynamically. And how it can change the behavior situation wise? For that, it uses a concept called accessors. For that, it uses a concept called accessor. We will see both example here. That means how property can become mutable. How you can control the properties. We can control by using accessor. What is accessor? Actually, accessors are used to give a fine-grained control over the property. We can get a good control over the property. Fine-grained control. That means each and every aspect of property you can control. Every concept of property you can control by using what? Accessors. Actually, what is the concept of accessor here is, so they allow to handle read and write operations on a property. They allow to handle read and write operations on a property. So actually, there are two accessors. So one is getter. Get, we call it as getter. Another one is set. That is called as setter. Getter is used to read and return value of property. Setter is used to assign a new value into property. To read value from a property, you use the getters, and to assign a value into the property, we use setters. Generally, how they use, we have a get and we have an alias name, and usually getter have to return the value. So return what? It will return the property. It will return the property so that the value in the property will be returned. So to read value from a property and return it, we are not directly using property. Now the question is, directly you can use property now. Why you are using accessor? Directly you can use obj.property. It will come. Why you are creating an accessor, and through accessor why you are accessing? What is the specialty here is, what this accessor can do is, it can set the conditions for returning value. Conditions for returning the value means that accessor will ask, who are you? You will say that I am admin. Then it will say, okay, you can see. If you say I am customer, then it says, sorry, you cannot. That means generally a property can directly read, but accessor will control it now. Accessor will decide when to show, when not to show. For example, you visit any website like cars, bikes, real estates, anywhere. You click on a car or a bike and you will see all photos, images, everything for that. You ask for price, they will not show price. They will ask, please provide your contact details, then only you can see the price. That means you can read, but not every time. In order to read, first you have to enter your contact details, then it will read, show. That means properties are directly accessible, but we can control them by using accessors. What setter can do? What setter can do? So setter uses an alias name. Alias name means a duplicate name for it to use it. So it will take the new value, and what it will do is, into the property, it will assign the new value. Whatever the new value is there, it will assign that into that property. And while assigning also, it can have conditions now. Previously, what you are doing, you are directly assigning. But now while assigning, we can control. That means we can ask, who are you assigning? If you are the same person, what I am looking for, then allow, otherwise not. So that is the specialty of these accessors. They will give a fine control over the properties. For example, see here now. I will give a practical example for this. We will have a class called product. In that there is a property underscore product name. Underscore is a tradition for a developer to write before a name to tell that its functionality is not final. Its functionality is not final. There are further implementations. Then we have an habit of writing the name starting with an underscore. That's tradition. Right now, anybody can read and write into it. There is no restriction as of now, but we want to put restriction. Then what we will do is, here, we will do one more here. Above, we will declare a variable username, and we will take from a prompt, enter username. We will ask role and prompt. So enter your role. And role default, I will give, it can be customer, or it can be admin, or it can be like manager, like that. Now what should happen after that? We will give, so product name is equal to prompt. So enter new name for product. That is the option we are giving. It will ask username, it will ask his role, and it will ask what he want to store. But whether it will store that depends on his role. If his role is admin, it will store. If not admin, then it will say can't. Right? You are not allowed. Let's see how do we control that now. Here we are creating accessors for property. If you don't create, everybody can store and everybody can read. I will create an accessor, get product name. That means what it will return? This dot underscore product name. It will return that, because class members are accessible within the class by using which keyword? This. Now this is alias name. This is the name which we use, but originally its name is this. We will not provide this to anybody. Anywhere in library we give only this. We will not give this to anybody, so that he will store only by using alias names. He can read. Okay. We will take a setter. Now, as of now, anybody can set, right? So we will use a setter, product name, and we will take new name, and we will put here this dot underscore product name is equal to new name. Currently, everybody can set. I don't want everybody to set. We will write a condition. If role is equal to admin, if role is equal to admin, then do this. Otherwise, if role is not admin, else put a message, document.write unauthorized. Unauthorized. You put a message here. So, hello, and that username is username. You are not authorized or authorized. Your role. What is that role? Role also I will type here. Your role is not authorized to set name. Understood? That is the concept we are defining. That means your role is not authorized to set name. Your role is not authorized to set name. This is the option we are giving. Right? So if it is admin, he will set. Otherwise, this message will come. Okay. So now we have a restriction to set the product name. Now what we will do here? We will create an object for that. Let obj is equal to new which class? Product class. And here we will try to assign. So obj dot product name. We will use the accessor, not the property. Accessor. Into that, we will pass the product name they entered from prompt. In prompt, whatever they are entering, this name we are collecting and we are storing. But do you know what this will happen now? This is not the property name. This is the accessor name. Am I right? That is the accessor name. That means when you try to send a new value into, it will not try to send a new value into it. It will not try to send a new value into it. What it will do is, first it will execute this method. Into that it will pass the new value. What it will do, it will verify, is it admin or not? If it is not admin, then it will display this message. If it is admin, then only this new value will be stored and it will be assigned here. Understood? That is the nature. So you are controlling now. Everybody cannot store. Now value stored or not inside this, how to verify? How to verify, is there a value or not? We have undefined. If value is not there, what it will return? Undefined. How to verify undefined or not? I told you there is a negative way, positive way. Positive way, how we do? If obj dot what? Product name. This indicates it is defined. Means it is having a value. Or we can use is equal to undefined. Means it is not having a value. If it is defined, print it. Document.write. We will print product name and whatever the name they entered. How to access the name they entered? Obj dot getter now. So here this is setter. Am I right? And this is getter. We are reading and writing. Now let's run this and see. We will run this and see. It will ask username. I'm entering username John. Okay, it will ask role. Role, I say customer. It will ask product name. Product name, I give some Samsung TV and it says you are not authorized. Your role customer is not authorized for setting the name. Okay, let's try another role. Username John and role is admin and product name is Samsung TV and it is okay. That is the responsibility of accessors in any computer programming in the world. What is the purpose of accessors? They control the properties behavior. Now properties are mutable. Variables are not mutable. We cannot give such behavior to a variable. Not possible at all. Variable cannot define this at all. It cannot define this at all. Right? Technically, variables are immutable and properties are mutable. And how you control the properties? By using this, you can enter the name, some name, and you entered some role manager, and you entered some Nike casual, something like this. Your role manager is not authorized. Only the person role, any person, and he is allowed to store. That's how it is going to handle the values. Right? That is the basic concept of properties and accessors. So in the programming, so we have two important concepts. How do we use the properties and how do we use the accessors? This is an example for accessors. Understood? That is the basic example for accessor. So in the classes, we have two important members. Yeah. This is property and this is an accessor. Example is not pasted here. Example, I will copy here. This is the example and to handle that. This is the example for accessor. And important accessors means not only the controlling. Generally at a higher level hierarchy, some option is there. We can access by using accessors. Means I will show you another usage of this accessor. You will see here. We are writing a class. So product. In this product class, we have name, some name. And here we have rating. Rating is an object. In that, we have a property called customer rating. So customer rating, or we say, suppose say vendor rating. Vendor rating is there. In this vendor rating, it is an again object. This object contains direct vendor. And direct vendor again is an object. In this object, we have rate. So we have rate. So rate as some 4.2 and count as some 3000 like this. We have another indirect vendor. And this rate is some 4.5 and count is some 500. Now how to access the indirect vendor rating? So we have to create an object for that. How to access the indirect render rating? Let obj is equal to new what? Product. Through obj what? Dot rating. In that rating we have a vendor rating. In vendor rating we have an indirect vendor rating. In that we have a rate. This is not great idea. You saw NASA API. I showed you. There will be 20-30 hierarchies. How much you are refer like that? That's not good idea. Then what developer will do? Developer is going to handle this in a simple way. What he will do is he will create so indirect, so he will create an accessor, indirect vendor rating. He will create an accessor indirect vendor rating, and it will return this dot rating dot vendor rating dot indirect vendor dot rate. That's it. Now what we can do is document dot write rating is equal to we can access obj dot directly indirect vendor rating. That's simple. We can even assign into it. We can even read it without referring the complete hierarchy every time. Without referring the complete hierarchy, we can read and write into it. That means you can see it is going to print that. We can even assign into it. That means obj dot what indirect vendor rating is equal to suppose 5 I am giving here. That means we are assigning into it. Then it is not showing. Why? Because there is no accessor. Na? Who is the accessor required for that? We have to use a setter, indirect vendor rating. What it has to do? It should take the new rating. Am I right? It should take the new rating and it should set into rating dot vendor rating dot indirect vendor rating dot rate is equal to what? New rating. Now it is possible to set the new rating you want. That is the purpose of accessors in programming languages. So we use in various ways. How do we configure and defining that, right? This is example for what? This is an example for accessors. So in the class, you have seen two members. What is that? Properties, another one, access. We have method and a constructor that we'll see in tomorrow's session. Right? In tomorrow's session, we will learn about methods, constructor, and it will not take much because they are not like your Java. They are very simple, straightforward concepts here. It's not like Java overloading, method overloading, overwriting and all this. Nothing will be there. You have a simple inheritance and polymorphism approach, which we will see. That we will see in the next session. Right? So tomorrow we'll continue. Okay? Right.